In the heart of a forgotten landscape, shrouded in mist and whispered rumors, lay Nightmare Park. Once a beacon of laughter and light, it had morphed into a desolate echo of its former self, its rusted gates and silent rides standing as monuments to the mysteries that lurked within. It was here, at the threshold of forgotten dreams, that Mia, Alex, Jack, and Sarah stood, their breaths visible in the chilling air, each driven by a blend of curiosity and bravado. Mia, with her long dark hair tied back and eyes alight with determination, surveyed the park's outline against the late afternoon sky. Alex, arms crossed, offered a skeptical glance toward the looming Ferris wheel, its silhouette like a giant's eye watching them. Jack's grin was wide, his excitement palpable, while Sarah, ever the voice of reason, adjusted her glasses and murmured a word of caution. Their entry into the park was marked by the creaking of the old gates, which seemed to groan in protest. The atmosphere inside was eerily quiet, the only sound their footsteps on the cracked pavement. Shadows elongated as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the park in an otherworldly twilight. As they ventured deeper, the attractions loomed like giants of a bygone era. The roller coaster, with its tracks disappearing into the darkness, the carousel, its painted horses frozen in mid-gallop, the Hall of Mirrors, its reflections fractured and distorted. Each step seemed to draw them further into a web from which there was no escape. It was Jack who suggested they explore the old haunted house on the hill. The idea was met with mixed reactions, but curiosity, that most human of traits, propelled them forward. The house stood as if it were a creature itself, watching, waiting. Inside, the air was thick with dust and the smell of decay. Portraits on the walls seemed to follow them with their eyes, and the silence was so complete it was almost a presence in itself. They hadn't gone far when the lights flickered and died, plunging them into darkness. Panic fluttered in Mia's chest, but she quelled it, taking out the flashlight she'd brought just in case. The beam cut through the darkness, revealing a sign they hadn't noticed before. Warning, do not enter after dark. The creatures awaken. That's when they heard it, a low growl reverberating through the corridors, followed by the sound of chains dragging on the floor. The realization hit them like a physical blow. The stories were true. Monsters, creatures of nightmare, had been caged here, and now, with the power outage, they were free. The group's search for an exit became desperate, their paths hindered by the very attractions that had once brought joy to thousands. Every shadow seemed to move, every noise a potential threat. Alex, once the skeptic, was the first to spot the creature, a grotesque blend of machine and flesh, its eyes glowing in the dark. It was clear then, these were no ordinary monsters. They were experiments, twisted and reshaped into something far more horrifying. The chase was on. Mia led them, her mind racing for a solution, her leadership never more vital. Jack's thrill-seeking nature found its match in the real horrors they faced, while Sarah's calmness under pressure kept their panic at bay. Alex, his skepticism shattered, admitted, "I never should have doubted." They stumbled upon a lab, hidden beneath the park, its walls lined with cages, some empty, others not. Notes scattered across a desk spoke of a descent into madness. The park owner's obsession with creating the ultimate attraction had spiraled into the grotesque manipulation of life itself. It was in the lab they found it, the control panel, a hopeful beacon amidst the darkness. With trembling hands, Mia worked to restore the power, hoping to open the gates and free them from this nightmare. The creatures, drawn by the light, converged on the lab, their howls a cacophony of terror. The power surged back, flooding the park with light, startling the creatures long enough for the group to make their escape. They ran, not daring to look back, until they burst through the gates and into the night beyond. But it was only as they caught their breaths, the adrenaline fading, that the true horror of their situation became clear. The park owner, presumed missing, had been there all along, watching from the shadows. His laughter, cold and mirthful, echoed around them, a chilling reminder that they had played right into his hands. The experiments were not just a twisted form of entertainment, they were a test, and they, the latest subjects. The realization was a weight none of them could bear. The monsters they had fled from were not the only creatures of nightmare in the park. The true monster was the mind that had conceived such horror, the park owner himself, hidden in the darkness, his eyes gleaming with madness. As they turned to face the park, its lights flickering mockingly in the distance, they knew their ordeal was far from over. The park might have been escaped, but its shadows lingered in their minds, a haunting they would carry with them. And so Nightmare Park stood, its gates closed once more, a silent sentinel over horrors untold. But the stories would spread, whispers of the night when the line between thrill-seeking and survival blurred into oblivion. For Mia, Alex, Jack, and Sarah, the park would always be there, in the dark corners of their dreams, a reminder that some nightmares are all too real. As they walked away, the park behind them, the night seemed to swallow them whole, the echoes of their ordeal fading into the darkness. But one thing remained clear: the park, its creatures, and its owner would wait, patient and eternal, for the next thrill seekers daring enough to step through its gates.